As I sit here reflecting on my journey, I can't help but think about the intricate web of beliefs that shaped my relationship with Jessica. For many years, I believed that love was a straightforward path. Two people meet, share their lives, and navigate the world together. Yet life has a way of challenging our convictions, forcing us to confront uncomfortable truths. I used to think that stability was the ultimate goal in a relationship. I craved the security of routine, the comfort of familiarity, and the safety that came from predictable days and cozy nights at home. My belief was simple. A loving partner should share your values and visions for the future. But Jessica was the embodiment of adventure, spontaneity, and exploration. She thrived on the thrill of new experiences, often dragging me along on her escapades, pushing the boundaries of my comfort zone. In those moments, I felt a mix of exhilaration and dread. Could I truly adapt to her adventurous lifestyle? As our relationship blossomed, so did my desires. I yearned for a partner who would support my dreams of stability and success. I wanted to build a life filled with milestones, family gatherings, and a peaceful home. However, with Jessica's adventurous spirit constantly at play, I started to feel like we were on diverging paths. I feared that her free-spirited nature would eventually pull us apart, leaving me alone in a world of my own making. In the back of my mind lingered the haunting thought: what if she fell in love with someone who shared her thirst for adventure? What if my desire for stability became a burden to her? I often questioned whether our relationship could withstand the pressure of our contrasting lifestyles. As I navigated through these conflicting emotions, I felt an ever-present tension between my heart and my head. My longing for a traditional, stable life clashed with the vibrancy and unpredictability that Jessica brought into my world. It was this ongoing conflict that ultimately led me to the decision to leave her, believing that our differences would only widen the gap between us. Yet I knew deep down that leaving wasn't an easy choice. There was an undeniable connection between us, one that tugged at my heartstrings. But I chose to prioritize my fears over my feelings, hoping that time apart would allow us both to find clarity. This internal battle of beliefs and desires between stability and adventure made me question everything I thought I knew about love. Could I have truly understood what love meant if I was so focused on the walls our differences created? Was there a way to embrace the uncertainty of love without losing myself in the process? As I pondered these questions, I couldn't shake the feeling that my journey was far from over. A new chapter was waiting to unfold, one that would challenge everything I believed about love, life, and the importance of adaptability. And that's when everything changed. As the months went by, I couldn't shake the growing sense of unease between Jessica and me. Our differences, once thrilling, began to feel like insurmountable obstacles. I started to believe that my yearning for stability was suffocating her spirit. With every adventure she proposed, my heart sank a little deeper. The thought of losing her to a more adventurous soul haunted me. One quiet evening, I sat down to reflect on our relationship. I loved Jessica, yet I feared that our lifestyles would lead us to different futures. I questioned whether I could continue to compromise my need for stability. Ultimately, I made the painful decision to end things, convinced it was for the best. "I just don't think we're on the same page anymore," I told her, trying to mask the heartbreak in my voice. Her eyes filled with confusion and hurt, and for a moment, I regretted my choice. But I clung to the belief that I was freeing us both from a future filled with resentment. As I walked away from her that day, a heavy weight settled in my chest. I thought I was pursuing clarity, but all I felt was loss. I was left questioning whether I had made a grave mistake, setting in motion a series of events I could never have anticipated. In the weeks that followed our breakup, a profound sense of emptiness enveloped me. I tried to convince myself that I had made the right decision, yet I found myself haunted by memories of Jessica. The laughter we shared, the late-night adventures, and even the quiet moments spent together gnawed at my heart. I grappled with the truth. Had I truly understood the depth of our love, or had I been blinded by fear? Friends and family offered their support, but their words felt hollow. They urged me to move on, to find someone who matched my desire for stability. But how could I forget someone who saw the world through a lens of vibrant colors, while I was content with grayscale? My mind was a battlefield, and I found myself seeking validation from a third party, a mutual friend who had witnessed our relationship unfold. I hoped they would confirm my decision, but instead, they painted a different picture. "Mark, you need to understand that Jessica loved you deeply. She wanted to share her adventures with you, not replace you," they said, their words cutting through the fog of my uncertainty. Those words struck me like a lightning bolt. I realized I had misinterpreted her adventurous spirit as a threat, rather than an invitation to grow together. Could it be that I had viewed our differences as walls instead of bridges? As I struggled with acceptance, I began to recognize the fear that had driven my actions. I had let my insecurities dictate the course of our relationship, and in doing so, I had lost the person who meant the most to me. The journey towards acceptance was long and painful, but I began to understand that true love isn't about finding someone who mirrors your lifestyle. It's about adapting to each other's worlds and cherishing the unique perspectives we each bring. After months of soul-searching, I received an unexpected message from Jessica. She wanted to meet. My heart raced with a mix of excitement and dread. Part of me feared she'd moved on, but I also craved closure. When we met at our favorite cafe, the air was thick with unspoken words. Jessica opened a photo album filled with pictures from her travels, each one accompanied by a note expressing how she wished I could have shared those moments with her. "I thought of you in every adventure," she said, her voice trembling. As I flipped through the album, tears filled my eyes. I realized she had always wanted to include me, not replace me. Her adventures weren't meant to drive us apart, but to bring us closer together. The confrontation wasn't just about our past. It was a lesson in love. "Why didn't you tell me?" I asked, feeling the weight of my regrets. Jessica replied softly, "I thought you understood. I believed we could find a balance." In that moment, I understood that our love was worth fighting for. We both had things to learn, and the path ahead was still uncertain. But with honesty, we could navigate the differences that once seemed so insurmountable. As I left the cafe, my heart felt heavy. The conversation with Jessica had awakened a whirlwind of emotions I thought I had buried. I realized how deeply I still cared for her, and how my fears had clouded my judgment. In the weeks that followed, I couldn't shake the memories of our time together. Every place we had visited, every laugh we shared, echoed in my mind. Heartbreak wrapped around me like a familiar blanket, and I found myself reflecting on my choices. What if I had embraced her adventurous spirit instead of fearing it? What if I had been more open to change? I understood now that love requires adaptability, something I had neglected. As I confronted my heartbreak, I began to accept the reality of my feelings. The pain was raw, but it also sparked a desire to grow. I knew I needed to find a way to heal, not just for myself, but to be the partner Jessica deserved. In the wake of my heartbreak, I turned to my closest friends for support. I needed to share my feelings, to let someone in on the turmoil I was experiencing. "Mark, you need to give yourself time to grieve," my friend Tom said during one of our late-night talks. "You loved her, and it's okay to feel lost." His words resonated with me, a reminder that my feelings were valid. I also sought advice from my family. They encouraged me to focus on self-care, to rediscover the hobbies I had neglected while in the relationship. It was a struggle, but slowly I began to find moments of joy in the little things: hiking, reading, and even trying my hand at cooking. Yet no matter how much I engaged in these activities, a part of me felt incomplete without Jessica. The support from friends and family was crucial, but I longed for the connection we once had. I began to realize that moving on didn't mean forgetting. It meant learning from the past to embrace a better future. In the aftermath of my heartbreaking conversation with Jessica, I felt the weight of my emotions pressing down on me. The loss was palpable, and I knew I couldn't navigate this pain alone. So, I turned to my closest friends for support, hoping to find solace in their company. One evening, I met up with Tom, my longtime friend. Over a couple of beers, I opened up about everything: the breakup, the weight of my decision, and my struggle to cope. "Mark, you need to give yourself time to grieve," he said, leaning back in his chair. "You loved her, and it's okay to feel lost. Don't rush this process." His words struck a chord. I realized I had been trying to push my feelings aside, thinking I could simply move on. Instead, I needed to face the heartache head-on. Tom's understanding made me feel less isolated, and we spent hours reminiscing about our adventures together, filling the space with laughter and memories that reminded me of the joy friendship can bring. I also reached out to my family, seeking their wisdom. My sister Sarah had always been my rock during tough times. "Mark, it's essential to focus on yourself now," she advised gently. "Rediscover the hobbies you love. It's a good way to channel your energy." Her encouragement to engage in self-care felt refreshing, and I took her words to heart. I started revisiting the activities that once brought me joy: hiking through nearby trails, losing myself in novels that transported me to different worlds, and even experimenting in the kitchen with new recipes. While these distractions helped to some extent, there was still a lingering void where Jessica had once been. Despite my efforts, I found it hard to shake off the memories. I often caught myself daydreaming about our adventures together, the inside jokes we shared, and the warmth of her laughter. I yearned for that connection again. Yet during this time of reflection, I began to understand that moving on didn't mean forgetting Jessica or the love we shared. It meant learning from our relationship and the lessons it had taught me. I had come to realize that I didn't just miss her. I missed the version of myself that I had become while with her, someone who embraced spontaneity and adventure. As I confided in my friends and family, I felt a gradual shift within me. It became clear that while the support I received was invaluable, I needed to take an active role in my healing journey. I started to envision a future where I could honor my feelings for Jessica while also forging my own path. This new perspective ignited a spark of hope within me, a belief that I could emerge from this heartbreak stronger and more self-aware. As weeks turned into months, I began to feel a shift within myself. The initial heartache was still there, but it was now accompanied by a growing sense of resilience. My friends and family had supported me, but it was up to me to take the next steps toward healing. I started focusing on my physical health, hitting the gym regularly and taking long hikes through nature. There was something therapeutic about being outside, surrounded by the beauty of the world. Each step on the trail felt like a step toward reclaiming my life. I pushed myself to explore new paths, both literally and metaphorically. Alongside physical fitness, I also delved into mindfulness practices. Meditation became a crucial part of my routine. I discovered that taking just a few minutes each day to breathe deeply and reflect on my feelings helped me gain clarity. I learned to sit with my emotions rather than push them away. This practice allowed me to acknowledge my pain, but it also taught me how to find gratitude in the small things. A warm cup of coffee, the beauty of a sunset, or a good book. As I embraced these changes, I felt a surge of confidence returning. I started to redefine my identity, separate from my relationship with Jessica. I began setting personal goals, taking up painting, something I had always wanted to do but never prioritized. I found joy in creating, allowing my emotions to flow onto the canvas. This newfound passion became a vital outlet for expressing what I had once kept bottled up inside. But even as I flourished, memories of Jessica lingered in the back of my mind. I understood now that the love we shared had shaped me and that connection was not something I could simply erase. Instead of resisting it, I chose to honor our past. I began to see how her adventurous spirit had inspired me to explore beyond my comfort zone. It was a beautiful realization that our relationship had made me a better person, even if it hadn't ended the way I had imagined. As I continued on this journey of self-discovery, I also made a conscious effort to surround myself with positivity. I sought out friends who uplifted me and engaged in activities that sparked joy. Each day felt like a new opportunity for growth, and I started to envision a future filled with possibilities. I was no longer the man defined by heartbreak. I was becoming someone who embraced change and sought adventure on my own terms. In moments of quiet reflection, I realized that finding strength and healing was not a linear path. There were days when sadness would creep back in, reminding me of what I had lost. But rather than succumbing to despair, I learned to recognize those feelings as part of the process. It was okay to feel vulnerable, to acknowledge that healing takes time. Through it all, I discovered a deeper understanding of love, not just as a destination, but as a journey. It was about growth, resilience, and the ability to adapt. I was finally beginning to heal, emerging from the shadows of heartbreak and stepping into the light of new possibilities. Months had passed since I last saw Jessica, and I had made significant strides in my healing journey. I had embraced new interests, formed stronger connections with friends, and even started to feel comfortable in my own skin again. But the memory of her never completely faded. It lingered like a soft echo in the back of my mind. One Saturday afternoon, I decided to attend a local art exhibition, a vibrant display of talent from local artists. As I walked through the gallery, admiring the pieces that captured emotions I once felt, I was caught off guard when I spotted a familiar face across the room. It was Jessica. For a moment, time seemed to stand still. She looked radiant, her spirit as adventurous as ever. The years had added depth to her beauty, and I was struck by a wave of nostalgia. All those memories came flooding back. The laughter, the adventures, the love we had shared. My heart raced, caught between excitement and trepidation. Would she even want to talk to me after everything that had happened? Gathering my courage, I approached her. "Jessica," I said, my voice slightly shaky, "it's so good to see you." She turned, a look of surprise lighting up her face. "Mark, wow, it's been a while," she replied, her smile warm and genuine. We found ourselves chatting like old friends, reminiscing about our past while navigating the present. She shared stories of her travels, adventures that spanned continents, filled with breathtaking landscapes and cultures. I felt a pang of envy as she recounted tales of hikes through the Himalayas and sunset views in Santorini. It was a stark reminder of how our differing lifestyles had once driven us apart. As we continued to talk, I realized that Jessica hadn't changed. She was still the free spirit who had inspired me to embrace life's uncertainties. I shared my journey as well, how I had learned to find strength and stability in my life after our breakup. To my surprise, she listened intently, her eyes reflecting understanding and empathy. "I'm really proud of you, Mark," she said, her voice soft. "It sounds like you've grown so much." Her words resonated with me, sparking a flicker of hope. Perhaps our paths had crossed again for a reason. As we exchanged stories and laughter, I felt the walls I had built around my heart beginning to crumble. By the end of the evening, we had agreed to meet again, to explore the city together like we used to. It felt exhilarating and terrifying all at once. Would we be able to bridge the gap that had formed between us, or were we simply rekindling old flames? As I walked home that night, I couldn't shake the feeling that this reunion was a pivotal moment. I had spent so long healing and reflecting, and now I stood at a crossroads. The love I had once feared losing was re-emerging, and I realized that this time I was ready to approach it differently. In the following weeks, we met regularly, embarking on adventures that reignited the spark between us. We hiked trails, shared meals, and spent hours talking about everything under the sun. With each meeting, I found myself drawn back to her, but this time, I approached our relationship with newfound wisdom. I had learned that love is not about possession, it's about mutual growth and adaptation. I didn't want to hold her back from her adventures, and I didn't want to lose myself in her world either. Instead, I envisioned a partnership where we could both thrive, supporting each other's dreams while embracing the beauty of our differences. As our connection deepened, I found myself embracing the idea of a fresh start with Jessica. Our conversations flowed effortlessly, filled with laughter and shared dreams. It became clear that both of us had evolved, shaped by our experiences apart. One evening, as we sat on a park bench overlooking the city skyline, Jessica turned to me. "Mark, I've been thinking a lot about us and what we've both been through," she said, her voice sincere. "I believe we can create something beautiful together if we take it one step at a time." Her words struck a chord within me. I had spent so long afraid of change, convinced that our differences would keep us apart. But now, I realized that those very differences could be the foundation for a more enriching relationship. We talked about our needs and desires, openly discussing how we could support one another in our journeys. As weeks turned into months, we began to build a new life together, one that honored both our adventurous spirits and my need for stability. We took weekend trips to nearby hiking trails, allowing Jessica to lead the way into the unknown, while I ensured we had comfortable accommodations and plans in place. Each adventure felt like a delicate dance of give and take, where both our preferences were valued. Our relationship flourished. I found joy in the little moments, cooking dinner together, sharing a bottle of wine while reminiscing about our past, or simply watching the sunset. I realized that love is not just about grand gestures, but about everyday experiences and how we choose to show up for one another. As we navigated this new chapter, we faced challenges. Of course, there were moments of miscommunication where I struggled with my instincts to seek stability while Jessica yearned for spontaneity. However, we learned to approach these conflicts as opportunities for growth rather than sources of friction. Each disagreement was met with empathy and understanding, allowing us to grow closer rather than drift apart. Eventually, we made a decision that would solidify our commitment. We moved in together. This step felt monumental, but it also filled me with excitement. It was a testament to our dedication to building a life where both our dreams could coexist. In our shared space, we created an environment that reflected who we were as individuals and as a couple. Photos from our respective adventures adorned the walls, serving as constant reminders of our journeys. We made space for both adventure and stability, a balance that now felt attainable. Through it all, I recognized that love is a dynamic force, requiring patience, understanding, and a willingness to adapt. With Jessica, I no longer felt like I was compromising my desires. Instead, I was enhancing my life by embracing hers. Together, we crafted a narrative filled with hope, resilience, and a profound appreciation for the unique paths that had led us back to each other. As the months rolled on, I found myself enveloped in a newfound sense of happiness. Living with Jessica brought a spark to my daily life that I had long thought was lost. We had discovered a rhythm that allowed both of our personalities to shine, and our home became a sanctuary of warmth and understanding. One evening, while curled up on the couch after a long day, I turned to Jessica, feeling grateful for how far we had come. "You know, I never thought we could make it like this," I confessed, a smile playing on my lips. I was so focused on our differences that I almost missed the beauty in our connection. Jessica smiled back, her eyes reflecting the love we had nurtured. That's the thing about love, isn't it? It teaches us to see beyond ourselves. I'm so glad we took the leap together. Our relationship had evolved into a partnership, grounded in mutual respect and shared experiences. We learned to embrace spontaneity while also cherishing the moments of calm. Our weekends were filled with both thrilling adventures and cozy evenings at home, a perfect blend of exploration and stability. The real breakthrough came during a weekend camping trip in the mountains. As we sat by the campfire under a starry sky, I felt a deep sense of contentment wash over me. The crackling fire illuminated Jessica's face, and I was struck by how lucky I was to have her by my side. We talked about our hopes for the future, our dreams of travel, and even the possibility of building a family one day. In that moment, I realized that the fears I once held about our differences had faded into the background. Instead, I found strength in knowing that love isn't about fitting into a mold. It's about growing together, adapting to each other's lives while honoring our individuality. As the seasons changed, our bond deepened. Friends and family began to notice the transformation in both of us. They saw the happiness we radiated and the way we uplifted each other. It was as if our love had become a force that inspired those around us. Looking back on my journey, from the heartache of leaving Anna to the joy of finding Jessica, I understood that love truly is about resilience and adaptability. It's about taking the leap, even when fear whispers doubts in your ear. I learned that letting go of rigid expectations can lead to unexpected beauty and profound connections. In the end, our love story became a testament to the idea that true happiness lies in the willingness to embrace change and celebrate each other's unique journeys. As I held Jessica's hand that night, I felt a sense of peace and hope for the future. No matter where life took us, I knew we could navigate it together, finding joy in the adventure of life as partners, companions, and soulmates. As I sat on the balcony of our new apartment, watching the sun dip below the horizon, I reflected on how much had changed in my life. The journey from the heartache of my past to the promise of my future with Jessica felt surreal. I had come full circle, discovering that love is a powerful catalyst for growth and transformation. One afternoon, I took out the photo album that Jessica had brought during our reunion. Each page was a snapshot of her adventures, filled with handwritten notes about how she saw me in every moment. It was a reminder of how we had both grown and adapted over time. I realized that our love was not only about shared experiences, but also about the unwavering support we offered each other in pursuing our individual dreams. With each new day, we continued to write our story. Jessica had plans for her next big adventure, a solo trip to South America, and as she excitedly shared her itinerary, I felt a familiar pang of anxiety. But this time, instead of feeling threatened by her desire to explore, I found myself genuinely excited for her. "You have to go, Jess," I encouraged her. "This is an incredible opportunity." Her eyes lit up, and she smiled, clearly touched by my support. "You really mean that?" she asked, almost incredulous. "Of course, we're a team, remember? I want you to pursue your passions too." This moment solidified my belief that our love was no longer a barrier, but a bridge that connected us, allowing us both to pursue our dreams while being there for one another. As her departure approached, we planned together, making sure she had everything she needed. I found joy in preparing her for the journey, packing her bags, and reminding her to take care of herself. In turn, she encouraged me to focus on my career, urging me to pursue that promotion I had been hesitant to chase. When the day of her departure finally arrived, I stood at the airport, feeling a mix of pride and sadness. Watching her walk through security, I felt a sense of reassurance that our love could withstand the distance. We promised to keep in touch, and I knew that this experience would only strengthen our bond. During her travels, I took the opportunity to focus on my own aspirations. I poured my energy into my work, and soon enough, the hard work paid off. I was promoted. The news felt exhilarating, but even more so because I knew Jessica would be thrilled for me. I had learned that my success was intricately tied to the love and support we shared. When Jessica returned, we greeted each other with open arms and hearts, both transformed by our experiences apart. The stories she brought back, the people she met, the challenges she overcame, only deepened my admiration for her spirit. We spent hours sharing, laughing, and learning from one another. As we settled back into our routine, it became clear that this was just the beginning of a beautiful chapter in our lives. Together, we forged a relationship built on understanding, trust, and a deep appreciation for each other's journeys. We embraced the unknowns ahead, knowing that whatever life threw at us, we would face it as partners. In the months that followed, we made plans to travel together, blending our passions for adventure and stability. We explored new places, relishing in the joy of discovery as a couple. Each trip was a testament to our growth and the strength of our bond. Our love story was no longer defined by fear or the weight of past mistakes. It was a narrative filled with hope, possibility, and resilience. I understood now that love is about more than just companionship. It's about nurturing each other's dreams and finding harmony in the beautiful chaos of life. As I closed the album that had once served as a reminder of what I had lost, I felt a profound sense of gratitude for everything I had gained. Jessica was not just my partner, she was my greatest supporter, and together we were writing a story that would continue to unfold, filled with endless adventures and unconditional love.